Contamination from toxic chemicals known as PFAS is forcing more Maine farms to pull their products.
The chemicals were in leftover sludge from wastewater treatment plants, and that sludge was hauled to farms across the state and used as fertilizer. Now, over time, those compounds leached into the groundwater.
There is a new bill making its way through the legislature that, if approved, would allocate tens of millions in surplus funds to address this crisis. News Center Maine's Vivian Lee has the story from Albion.
Brendan Holmes and his family have been running Misty Brook Farm, a 500-acre organic dairy farm, for nearly a decade. After high levels of PFAS chemicals were discovered in the soil, water, and produce at a nearby farm last fall, Holmes tested some of his land, well, and dairy products. His fields were spread with wastewater sludge used as free fertilizer under a previous owner.
And the well came back completely fine, thankfully. The feed and the milk did not.
The source of that contamination, 35 bales of hay purchased from an organic farm. His entire herd of Jersey cows consumed the tainted hay for 2 months.
And the owners of that farm had no idea that their farm was contaminated until I notified them.
The compounds are known as forever chemicals because it takes years for them to break down in the environment. The chemicals have also been linked to serious health problems, including organ cancers and federal health studies. With levels above the safe limit, the farm pulled its products, ranging from milk cream to grass-fed beef, from shelves of 35 grocery stores. The farm also paid for dozens of PFAS tests, which run about $500 each.
I can go a week and a half with no income, and then I'm insolvent.
More than 9 farms have been identified by the Department of Agriculture, Conservation, and Forestry as having high levels of PFAS contamination. Now, Department of Environmental Protection regulators are currently testing sites that receive the largest volume of sludge across the state, a state-approved practice that dates back to the 1970s. But with a potential list of 700 sites, that survey could take years to complete, prompting more farmers to test at their own expense.
They need testing support, they need income replacement, they need funds to be able to pivot their business to something different if, depending on what their test results come back as. And then ultimately they do need a buyout.
The Maine Farmland Trust and the Maine Organic Farmers and Gardeners Association started a PFAS emergency relief fund to help farmers dealing with PFAS exposure. Farmers can apply for grants to pay for testing and to supplement lost income.
While we are working with them.
The DACF, meanwhile, is asking for $3 million in the governor's supplemental budget to deal with the PFAS crisis. Testifying recently before the legislature's Appropriations and Financial Affairs Committee, Commissioner Amanda Beal says the funding would go to hire more staff, increase testing capacity, and set up a long-term assistance fund.
The program that we're working on would replace income lost for up to a year as a starting point. I think we have to see, for some farms it could take longer.
But MOFGA officials told lawmakers a much larger investment by the state is needed now. LD 2013 would set up a fund to support farmers on a number of issues, including mortgage payments, health monitoring, new infrastructure, and a buyout program of contaminated land.
And we think that probably $100 million is a reasonable projection of what's going to be needed to help farms and so that Maine can emerge.
Back at Misty Brook Farm, recent tests show all of the farm's products are now PFAS-free, soon to be back on store shelves. A GoFundMe is also raising money to help purchase a new herd of organic cows. But questions remain if impacted farmers can find a way to survive this toxic nightmare.
That land is permanently never going to produce food for humans in the next 2,000 to 3,000 years. It can either grow trees, solar panels.
As livelihoods continue to hang by a thread. In Albion, Vivian Lee, News Center, Maine.
The PFAS Emergency Relief Fund has raised nearly $300,000. All farmers can apply, and we'll have more information on our website and our News Center Maine app.